Welcome to Sports Update with Kate. I am your host, Kate Adams. I have a very special guest today, a former LSU number 18 and defensive end, Christian Locouture. Thank you so much for coming, Christian.
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully I got that last name right. I know you said there was two different ways you could pronounce it. You said Couture and Couture, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Christian. Okay, so it was a pretty big game this weekend, but before we get to that, I know that you were an undrafted agent, but then you did get picked up by the Ravens for a little bit. Just tell me a little bit about your experience after college.
I mean, it was kind of like a roller coaster. Had a great senior year. Obviously when the draft came around, things didn't go what I expected to, but sometimes you get the short end of the stick, and that's all you get. You got to be grateful for it. So, I had a lot of teams call. I thought Baltimore was the right situation for me, so I decided to go there and. Did very well, made the team, made the practice squad, and I was there for the first 6 weeks. And eventually, somebody got hurt. I had to bring a guy in. It's a numbers game. It's not like college. And, I was the one that got cut. So, I've been in talks with teams, and obviously Baltimore's called back. So I think probably I'll hopefully be up in the next couple of weeks. But we'll see what happens. What's
the biggest difference to you between college and NFL?
Well, obviously the speed of the game. These are grown men out there. This is not, 18 and 21-year-olds. These people that, this is a job now. It's not, you're not going to school. This is, I think, you're up there all day, football, probably from 6:30 to about 5 o'clock every day. And there's no, study breaks, there's no school. It's all football. So I think, the amount of time invested into football, obviously in college is a lot as well, but what you do day in, day out the whole time, obviously I think is something that's drastically different.
Definitely is. Like you said, you're going up against grown men, and some of these men have been playing in the league for years. Some may be rookies. Did you get to meet or play with any of maybe like some former guys that you may have looked up to?
Obviously it was good because we got to go against the Los Angeles Rams in a joint practice. I think the second week of the preseason, and it was really good. Andrew Whitworth was over there. Obviously, I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer, one of the best tackles in the league. Just getting to see him and kind of chat with him for a quick second, but looking up to him and what he did here, and obviously in the league, it was obviously good to see him and see what he's doing.
All right, I want to ask this because a lot of people always wonder, and it's more of a fun question. What's your go-to song to listen to when you're like warming up, kind of getting ready for a big game?
I know we talked about this before the show, but I didn't think you'd ask me. I think there's a lot. It just kind of depends on my mood. I think for me, like I said, I'm obviously an 80s rock guy. I like some modern day rap, and I think for me, if I had to go today, I'd probably have to go to Lil Wayne's new album. I'd probably have to either do like Open Letter or Uproar. Those are probably one of my two songs.
Hey, those are two good options. I'm a really big Lil Wayne fan myself.
Yes.
Actually hadn't got a chance to listen to all of Carter 5 yet, but I'm going to.
You need
and I'm going to listen to it on repeat once I do. I know that for sure. Okay, so something a little bit more serious that I do want to talk about. Let's switch gears here. Obviously, LSU had a devastating loss this past weekend, 7 overtime game. It was crazy, but the big hot topic right now is the incident that happened after the game was over with Kevin Falk and what everybody is saying to be Jimbo Fisher's nephew, Cole Fisher.
Right.
So apparently, Cole Fisher either pushed or shoved LSU analyst Steve Cragthorpe, and he has Parkinson's, so he's got a pacemaker. Now, obviously, that's going to affect him because of that. When Kevin Fox saw that, he went after him. It was a little crazy. Everybody's talking about it right now. It's the big topic of conversation. One thing, LSU Associate Athletic Director Robert Munson, he sent out a tweet. He said Steve Cragthorpe did not retract his statement that he was hit in the area of his pacemaker, because he did come out with a statement earlier or right after that incident had happened. He said he wasn't going to press charges, but he was attended to by EMTs in the LSU locker room and underwent an EKG along with other standard protocol. He declined to press charges, declined an ambulance, and made it clear that he was not hit in the face. Any reports that suggest otherwise are false and misleading. He said Steve is a man of the highest degree of integrity and character, and that is a fact. I just want to get what your thoughts are. Look, Steve didn't swing back at him. He said, look, I'm 50 years old. The last time I got in a fight was when I think I was like 17 or 18. Like, I'm not going to go swing at a kid that's obviously younger than me. Kevin Fogg's motive was, look, my mom and dad taught me to do better than that. And when I see somebody shove, especially our LSU analyst who has Parkinson's, I'm going to take up for him and do something about it. What are your thoughts on that whole incident?
Well, I've known Steve a long time. You know, he actually was my first recruiter my freshman year in high school, and when he was at A&M at the time. But, you know, with Coach, you know, like I think Robert said it best, he's a man of the highest integrity. I mean, for somebody to say that he's lying or whatever is completely disrespectful. And for a kid to go out there and, I mean, you won the game, okay? Let's act accordingly, okay? Act like you know how to win the game. Like, that's something for me that really bothered me is you won the game. You don't need to go over and do something like that, especially push a coach who has Parkinson's and has a pacemaker in his chest. Obviously, I don't know if he knew that. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. We don't know that. But at the end of the day, you know, go out there and show respect to the other team. It's a 7 overtime great battle, and obviously you came out on top. You know, for us as LSU fans, we didn't want that to happen, but that's what happened. At the end of the day, you can't go over there, talk all this crap, and, you know, start pushing coaches and thinking you're daddy big ball now. You know, for me, it was something that I found really disrespectful. And for me, it was personal because I know Coach Crichton very well. And when I heard that, I mean, I would have done the same thing, you know, Coach Falk did at the time.
Well, I also saw, because there's been several pictures, there's been some videos.
Yeah.
None of the videos are really that clear. Some of them are kind of overhead where you can kind of see, but you can't all the way see. John Battle did kind of throw a punch at Cole Fisher. Do you think that John Battle is going to have any repercussions for doing that move?
I hope not. You know, because obviously there's a lot of stuff going on at that time. A lot of emotions are going around. Obviously, you know, Cole Fisher, what he did, Damian Craig, what he did. And, you know, there's a lot of people going around pushing each other. And, you know, if for some reason does somebody just get a camera angle on John and him swinging, I mean, there could have been 10 other people doing that, but we don't have that. So I really hope not. I mean, hopefully, you know, he might just do something internal, whether it's, you know, punishment run or something like that. But for him to be suspended as a senior for the bowl game, his last game, I really hope that doesn't happen because John's done a lot of great things here and he's been a great leader. I wouldn't want him to go out like that.
I wouldn't want him to either, and I really don't think that he would deserve that.
Right.
I think kind of like you said, it should probably be something internally because when I was watching it, it really just looks like he was kind of defending him like kind of get out the way type thing, not like, hey, I'm coming at you, I'm going to try to get you. Now, Kevin Falk, on the other hand, different story. And look, there's been a lot of funny memes and stuff too about this. Like, I was hiding behind my keyboard, you know, or I wish I was still hiding behind my keyboard and this wasn't real life type of things. I mean, I would never want to go up against Kevin Fogg. Like, he is the nicest guy. I've met Kevin Fogg multiple times, got to interact with him. He works with a lot of youth. He cares about other people. It's apparent when you meet him and interact with him, but you also don't want to get on his bad side. And I think that he was literally just trying to take up for Steve, and you can't going after a guy that's got Parkinson's. You can't do that. I mean, it's not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. And I really hope to see that Kevin, John, none of them really have any consequences because of it. I fully believe that it should be Texas A&M have the consequences. What type of consequences do you think should be deserved in this scenario? You
know, it's something for me that obviously I think was started by A&M. The fact that a coach comes running over there, you know, talking a lot of crap about, you know, this and that. You know, obviously we weren't there. We don't know what happened, but you can see in the video people are running over there talking. And, you know, I think, first off, for the kid, Cole, something, you know, he has to lose his credential, but he cannot be on the sideline if he's doing stuff like that. There's no way. And I know people are calling for him to be fired, Cole, or, you know, dismissed from the program, whatever it is. You know, at the end of the day, like, I don't know what it's going to be. For me, though, that kid cannot be on the sidelines if he's going to do stuff like that because it could have been a lot worse than what it was. Like we said, you know, Coach Craigthorpe has Parkinson's. He has a pacemaker. Something could have gone drastically wrong, and thank God it didn't. But if it did, you know, that's something that, you know, we would all sit there and be like, what are you doing? Like, And maybe the kid didn't know he had Parkinson's or not. Maybe he didn't know he had a pacemaker. But at the end of the day, you can't be doing stuff like that. So for me, I don't know if there's going to be suspensions. I think somewhere along the line, somebody's going to get it. I don't know whose side it is. Hopefully it's not our side. But at the end of the day, you know, to see something like that, you just never want to see it in football. You really don't.
If anything, I believe that Texas A&M should be responsible for the medical charges that Steve's going to have to
100%.
have in case anything goes wrong.
Right.
And let's, you know, hope and pray that nothing does go wrong.
Right.
I mean, it's just really unfortunate that any of that happened. I actually saw on Twitter where Cole ran up to Jimbo right after that happened, and he's like, you can see me. Yeah, he's like, it looks like he says, I punched the guy, and Jimbo's like,
what are you doing?
Happened?
Yes.
I mean, and you can't really hear any of the, like, you can kind of hear, but not really. I mean, do you feel like Jimbo was just like, what the heck? Like, I can't believe this just happened. I mean, Jimbo used to coach at LSU back in the day, actually was being considered to be one of the coaches before Coach O got the head coaching job. I mean, what do you think about all that?
Oh, I mean, he's already in an emotional roller coaster even before that. You're in a 7 overtime game. It's going back and forth. I mean, they won the game. So obviously, you know, you're kind of not in a state of shock where you're like, holy cow, like we just did this. And at the end of the day, you have your nephew come up and tell you, hey, look, I just did this. I mean, I don't know what they're saying, but he's showing somebody got swung at or he swung at someone. And he's just going through a crazy time. He's just like, you can see his face and he's like kind of like starstruck, like, what just happened? Like, I mean, he's already in shock from the game, and then you have that. But, I mean, like I said, there's no room for that in football, college, high school, middle school, or the professional. I think at the end of the day, whatever happens, I know, you know, Greg Sankey and the commissioner and the whole office for the SEC will make the right call. But like I think you said right before this, you know, I think for A&M, they need to be held accountable if there is damages with Coach Craig Thorpe, because there's no right for that in football. And for you to do something like that is disrespectful and really absurd.
Definitely is disrespectful, especially after you do get a win.
Yeah.
Now, back when you played college ball, was there any altercations or anything ever like that you experienced? Not
to that degree. You know, I kind of remember we got into a little bit of one against Ole Miss my junior year. We were down 38-13. There was like 2 minutes left in the game. They kind of had a late hit on one of our guys, and we all kind of ran over there, and it got real hostile. I don't remember any punches being thrown. A lot of people kind of pushing each other, but I mean, a lot of people cleared the benches and stuff like that. But I don't remember anything to that degree. And you know, thank God, you know, that didn't happen, because you know, obviously, I think it was middle of the year. It wasn't the last game of the year before the bowl game. We were. I think we had about 3 games left, and 2 or 3 games left, and I mean, there probably would have been suspensions handed down, so thank God there wasn't. I mean, what do you do in that scenario when everybody's just going after each other? You're obviously in the heat of the moment, and sometimes in the heat of the moment like that, it's hard to kind of stop yourself and be like, oh, wait, I don't need to be punching other guys. I mean, there could be some major consequences to that. Do you just have to try to snap back into it? I think a lot of people have different emotions at that time, and it's hard to control everybody. But what I do know is, like, you know, as a leader, you got to make sure you handle the situation, help the coaches out, and you know, you're gonna have some, you know, young kids like fiery, and you know, they want to be out there, and I mean, for me, if I see a teammate getting jumped or whatever it is, I mean, I'm going in to help them. Like, I mean, it's something like, I'm not gonna sit back and watch them do that to my guys, you know. So I'm gonna make sure that everybody's good. But once the situation is handled, you want to make sure everybody's backing off and not trying to throw punches and everything, because you're gonna need a lot of guys. And you're gonna, like, for us, we're gonna be going to a big time bowl game, so. I think for them, you know, you're going to need everybody there. So at that standpoint, you got to kind of gather yourself once everybody's kind of backed off, and understand and make sure everybody's backed up and they're kind of cooling down. And because you don't want any suspension, especially going to a big game, because you want everybody there. You want everybody to make sure they're playing in that game, and you want to try to get that win. If you have half your team missing, or a lot of your star players out because of that, it's just dumb, and you don't want that to happen. I agree. And I mean, I've personally never gotten into a fist fight as a woman, but I'm sure a lot of guys usually do, especially in their younger days and that sort of thing. But you know, with all men on the field getting into a fight, it's just going to happen sometimes. You can't always stop it. Be perfect. But I mean, that was really crazy what happened, and let's hope that the SEC and Texas A&M and LSU can just really all figure it out together, and I'm sure that they will make the best decision. All right, we do have to take a quick break. When we come back,
There were some questionable calls made by the SEC officials, or at least some people are saying, in this past LSU-Texas A&M game. So we'll talk about some of that. We'll talk about some of the records that were broken in that game. We'll just dive deeper into that 7 overtime legendary game. We are here at Scoreboards. It is on 10655 Coursey Boulevard. This is literally the best place to come watch your sports games. There are TVs in every single corner. You can watch 5 different games at one time, or even more than that. They've got great tailgate food. So come out here and see us, 10655 Coursey Boulevard, here at Scoreboards. We've got to take a quick break.
Your dad gave me his baby to go pick up your brother from the airport.
Oh, honey, just take Mom's car. She just had navigation installed.
I totally got this. We were just there.
Hey, isn't that...
Yep. I programmed the airport in, just in case.
You don't need a new car to have new technology. Mike's Audio, conveniently located on Airline Highway near the corner of Bluebonnet.
Are you ready for this year's formal events? Weddings, homecoming, Mardi Gras, prom, pageants. Debbie's Bridal is having an inventory blowout sale. Don't be left out. Prices range from 20% off to 80% off. Happening now. Debbie's Bridal, Burnside in Gonzales.
Hi folks, Clarence Buggs here. Coach Roger Cador would take the time to tell you how to catch our brand new show, The Roger Cador Show, but as you can see, he's kind of busy right now out at Scoreboards, Baton Rouge's newest sports grill with food that is absolutely amazing. Catch the show 8 o'clock Tuesday nights, 6:30 p.m. on Wednesdays, and on Pelican Television's YouTube channel as well. You want to come out and have a great time. It's awesome, isn't it, Coach? Mm-hmm. Told you.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Welcome back to Sports Update with Kate. I am your host, Kate Adams. We've got Christian Lockacher here with me, former LSU number 18, also played with the Ravens for a quick minute, and then maybe possibly back with them, but we're still unsure. I don't want to say too much because I don't know what the deal is over there. But all right, so we were just talking off air, just kind of, that game was insane. We all know it. There was a lot of questionable calls, or I'm going to say they were questionable. Everybody might have a different argument, but to me, there's a lot of questionable calls by the SEC officials in that game. Now, Texas A&M only had 3 penalties. Yeah. That whole entire game, they only had 3 penalties, which I think is absurd because LSU had a hell of a lot more than that. Let's start off by talking about this one call, the interception by Grant Delpit at the end of regulation. But then they said, well, no, the Texas A&M quarterback's knee was down, and so they reversed it. Your thoughts on that? I mean, come on.
It's a tough call. You know, there were a lot of sketchy calls in that game. I think that's the one call probably where it was like you could kind of tell where they had some sense to it. You know, if you look back at it, you can see where his knee was down, he was holding the ball. I just find it very weird that, you know, you go back and, you know, the interception's been made, there's been time going, like, you know, we're getting ready to go out and take, you know, a victory knee, and, oh, no, we got to go back and look at it. I mean, you know, obviously that was something that they saw, and you look back at it, and his knee was down, but, you know, I think if you're going to use replay, you got to use it on everything.
Look, I do too. Then there was that 4th and 18 call at the end of the fourth quarter. That was another bad one. Right here, look, they're showing something. It's kind of going slow on this TV. I can't see it all the way.
It's a strip sack.
There they go. There LSU goes again. Sorry, guys. We were just staring up at the TV at that insane game. Then, with 1 second left on the clock and the Texas A&M spike, we've got a quick video of Coach O talking some words about this. Let's see what he has to say.
In my opinion, should have never been put up. And that was very unfair that happened to our football team tonight. We battled the whole time. Give credit. Our guys, we fought, and we kept on fighting, and we just didn't make enough plays at the end. But in my opinion, that 1 second should have never been put back on that clock.
Okay, I have a lot of questions about this because back in 2016, and you were on LSU's team then, at Auburn. 1 second left on the clock. They let LSU snap the play. LSU snapped it, got a touchdown, and then they called it back. Next week, Les Miles gets fired. It was absolute mayhem. But then this game, they can put 1 second back on the clock. Texas A&M can snap the ball, tie the game up, go into overtime. Just, can you explain some of this to me? Give me your thoughts, because I got just furious when I saw them put that 1 second. And they had already doused Coach O and Gatorade because they thought that they had won the game.
Right. You know, and that's, if you look back at the play, it's funny because I don't think a lot of people haven't really seen it. It's in the legal formation. So they should have caught that right away. You're only supposed to have 7 guys on the line of scrimmage, okay? They had 4 wide receivers to the right, all on the line. Everybody's the same, and they're just sitting there because they're trying to spike the call. They're trying to spike the ball. So right there and then, automatically, the ref should have said, boom, done, 10-second runoff, game's over. But they didn't. And that was one where I saw that, and they didn't say anything, and let alone even putting the second back on the clock. Because as soon you see it, the ball's still in his hand, hits 0, they give him the second left. It shouldn't have happened. But even if that wasn't the case, you had 4 guys to the right. It was an illegal formation. It should have been a 10-second runoff. This game should have been over in regulation.
I mean, I just think it's crazy that the SEC can get away with stuff like that. That's why when I think it comes to reviewing plays, and especially really important plays that obviously sent the game into 7 overtimes, is so important. Do you think that there's something that needs to be done, or that maybe the SEC might could do differently when reviewing the plays? Maybe after the fact they can still go back and review. I mean, I don't know what it is that they necessarily would have to do, but do you have maybe a suggestion or something that you might like to see? You know, obviously you don't play college anymore, but that you might like to see from the SEC. Yeah,
you know, when they called, they said they're going to review to see the second left. I thought they would look back and see. They look back and see. Okay, look, this is an illegal formation. Yeah, we'll give them the second left, but you know, this is going to be an automatic 10-second runoff. It didn't happen. I would have loved to see somebody just. I don't know if people are calling for suspensions for the refs. The people are calling for firings. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. At the end of the day, they can't change the game. The game's over with, which is the most terrible thing out of this. But for you to make calls like that through that whole drive, like you said, you know, obviously they had the knee down when they gave it back on Delpit's interception. You had the 4th and 18 where it's a pitch of him literally a yard behind the yellow marker. And we know that it could be, it's not exactly perfect where that line is, but it's pretty close. And you could see he's at least a yard off of that. They didn't even review that. And then you come back and you have the illegal formation where it should have been a 10-second runoff, not even giving a second left. There's 3 right there alone where they should have at least called it off. This game, like I said, should have been over in regulation for us. Should have been over in regulation. Even Coach O was on Come On Man for getting doused in Gatorade, which I kind of felt bad. I mean, look, they all thought they had won the game, but unfortunately they didn't. Then when the game goes into overtime, there's a fumble in the first overtime that is ruled as an incomplete. Yeah. I mean, did you feel like it was a fumble or an incomplete? It was definitely a fumble. I mean, you could see the guy. The rule is if he's making a upfield football move, and you can see him, he's coming up with the ball, he's looking upfield. Grant hit him right at the perfect time, and then he lost the ball. Like I said, I was sitting on the couch watching with my family, and there was a lot of sketchy calls. I was looking back at it, and I just started getting a bad feeling about it because we were making great plays. They just weren't giving them to us. Like I said, you know, you had that play. I mean, they stopped them in the 4th down regulation. There's just so many things that were just it wasn't going our way when it should have been. And I mean, we had already scored when A&M had the ball when they had that, you know, incomplete. But, you know, the game, like I said, that game, there's been probably 4 or 5 times in that game where we should have won that game, and they didn't. And they had some type of call where it just, you know, oh this, oh that. And I'm not sitting here, you know, you gotta give credit, but at the end of the day, there are a lot of things there that looked really sketchy.
I agree. I think a lot of it looked really sketchy. I honestly, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. I was like, this game has got to be rigged. I mean, there's no way there can be call after call after call on LSU that continually goes against us in really important scenarios, like game-changing scenarios, basically. And then, you know, Texas A&M comes out with the win when I truly believe in my heart we really should have came out with the win. There was another call I want to talk about, the pass interference in the 5th overtime. Now we're on 5th overtime by Greedy Williams. I mean, that was not a pass interference. It really wasn't. I watched it a few times. Here it is right here, actually. That's
something for me where I've never been so mad at an official. I wasn't even playing. A ref comes into play. He wants to make a name for himself. And it wasn't even like, I mean, it's a one-on-one ball. Let these guys play. It's in the 5th or 7th, whatever overtime it was. Everybody's tired. Everybody's like, you know, this is a battle. Like, let them play. And it wasn't even a catchable ball. If you look back at it, the ball's way over his head. This guy is 6'5", and it's way over his head. Greedy barely touches him. I mean, and it's man on coverage. You look back at it, the ref throws it. I don't know what Greedy said here, but at the end of the day, you know, let these guys play, man. Don't come into the game and try to dictate what the game's going to outcome. No, don't try to dictate the outcome of the game. Let these guys play. If it's an incomplete, it's an incomplete. 4th down. But I don't know. For me, that was the hardest one to look at because the ref comes into play and is trying to dictate the game.
If I were Greedy, I would have had some choice words to say to that ref too if I was in that scenario. So I really don't blame him for whatever it is he said. And by that time, I mean, have you ever played a game that has gone that long? I'm sure not. I mean, that's honestly like a game and a half for these guys. I mean, how tired were all those guys out there playing?
Oh, I mean, I still have a lot of good friends on the team, and talking to them after the day after, I mean, they were worn out. I mean, but obviously, I mean, I think A&M had over 110 plays, and for a defense to go that long, I mean, in our offense I think they had 98 to 100 plays as well. So, I mean, the whole team was tired, and for them to kind of get the game taken away from them and give all that effort, I mean, there's no reason for that, and that's what really bothered me because these guys fought their tails off to the end. I just kind of felt like they had it taken away from them.
I do too. I mean, I think Coach O said it best, like, don't discount our guys. They literally worked every second of that ball game. And in all honesty, in my opinion, we really should have came out with that win. I don't think it was fair to LSU at all. Like you said, you thought LSU maybe won 5 times. I definitely saw at least 3 or 4 times in there that I was like, this game should have been over a long time ago. And I guess Texas A&M, according to everyone else, they just got the best of us. In my opinion, they didn't. I just feel like the refs made some calls in some places when they shouldn't have. I mean, when you're a ref, it's always kind of on the line. It always sometimes can be, you know, it might be that call. It could just be a rule of judgment sometimes as a ref. But when it comes to really important key plays and making some bad calls on stuff like that, it affects the game. And
big time.
An underdog like Texas A&M was able to come out with a win. Now, I know everybody in Texas and College Station is super happy because Jimbo Fisher is a newer coach for them. And so this kind of helps Jimbo Fisher's case as a newer coach to them. I mean, how do you think Jimbo Fisher is feeling right now?
Well, I mean, they haven't, you know, A&M hasn't been in LSU in 7 years. You know, obviously it's his first year. And, you know, he got the win. I really don't think it should have been like that, but in the scorebooks is what it is. So obviously a lot of people over there are very happy with him. But what I do know is they're coming here next year, and I know for a fact that's not going to be the same outcome because that place is going to be rocking. Everybody's going to remember this game. Everybody's going to know what happened, and it's not. I think, in my part, it's not going to be a pleasant outcome for A&M because there's no way you're going to come into our house and do that stuff again. No way.
Exactly. There was a joke too about, you know, how Texas A&M calls their stadium, Kyle Field, home of the 12th man. Well, some people say maybe the 12th or maybe the 13th man was actually the referee because of some of those calls that were being made. But hey, who knows? Who knows? There were some kind of sketchy calls in that game. Now, also some records broken in that game, but we're going to talk about all of that when we come back We've got to take a short break, but remember, please come visit us here at Scoreboards. It's a great sports restaurant. They've got great drinks, TVs everywhere. I'm watching about 6 different things right now as we sit here. So you've got to come here, try the great drinks, try the great food. They've got daily specials every single day. And look, watch all your favorite teams play. We are here at Scoreboards 10655 Coursey Boulevard. Come visit us. We have to take a short break, but we will be right back.
Are you ready for this year's formal events? Weddings, homecoming, Mardi Gras, prom, pageants. Debbie's Bridal is having an inventory blowout sale. Don't be left out. Prices range from 20% off to 80% off. Happening now. Debbie's Bridal, Burnside in Gonzales.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hi folks, Clarence Buggs here. Coach Roger Cador would take the time to tell you how to catch our brand new show, The Roger Cador Show, but as you can see, he's kind of busy right now out at Scoreboards, Baton Rouge's newest sports grill with food that is absolutely amazing. Catch the show 8 o'clock Tuesday nights, 6:30 p.m. on Wednesdays and on Pelican Television's YouTube channel as well. You want to come out and have a great time. It's awesome, isn't it, Coach?
Mm-hmm.
Told you.
Look, your dad gave me his baby to go pick up your brother from the airport.
Oh, honey, just take Mom's car. She just had navigation installed.
I totally got this. We were just there.
Hey, isn't that...
Yep. I'll program the airport in, just in case.
You don't need a new car to have new technology. Mike's Audio, conveniently located on Airline Highway near the corner of Bluebonnet.
Welcome back to Sports Update with Kate. I'm your host, Kate Adams. We've got Christian Lockacher here with us, former LSU number 18, which is a very special number to wear at LSU. Also played with the Ravens for a little bit, and we hope to see him back in the NFL very, very soon. Yep. Christian, thank you for being here. All right, one thing I want to talk about, a lot of records broken in this past game. One of them was, this was the most points scored by a losing team. So LSU set the record for the most points scored with 72 points by a losing team. It was previously held by Nevada, who lost to Boise State back in the day with 67 points. I mean, a lot of people, especially if they didn't watch the game go into all 7 overtimes, this score looks like a basketball score. I mean, it's insane. Have you ever played a game where you've scored, I mean, what's the most amount of points you've ever scored when you played?
I can't really think of one off my head.
But more than 50?
Yeah, I think we've had one game we had 48, 45, 48, but I mean we never had 72. I mean that's, you know, obviously it was a battle, you know. And the thing too is like I went into one time in my life I went into overtime. It was my sophomore year against Bama. But that was the only time. I mean, these guys, you got to think about it too. They look at the score, but it's also the fact of like, you know, they're at the 25-yard line, you know, so they're bound to at least get 3 points. You know what I'm saying? So, especially with a kicker like we have, and I know A&M had a good one as well. So I think for us, it was something that, you know, you look back at it, everybody's like, wow, that's a lot of points. Yeah, but before, I mean, what was it? It was 31-31 before they went into overtime, something like that. But they put 40-some-odd points, but the thing was they started at the 25-yard line. So it's kind of, you're bound to get some type of points going into that drive.
Exactly. So a lot of points scored in this game, especially with 7 overtimes. Now LSU set another record for allowing so many points. So most points allowed by a ranked team was another record that LSU set. So LSU sets record for most points given up by a ranked team because LSU was ranked going into this, and they gave up 74 to Texas A&M this past game. It was previously held by Fresno State back in the day, who gave up 73 in a loss to Northern Illinois University back in 1990. So it's been a few years since something like this has happened. Another thing that happened in this game, second highest scoring game in college history. The game that, so LSU versus Texas A&M, they became the second in college history with this game totaled 146 points. Abilene Christian and West Texas set a record back in 2008 with a total of 161 points. So we weren't too far behind and setting records. And honestly, I thought it would have maybe gone into another overtime. The way things were going, I didn't think the overtimes were ever going to stop. I mean, just talk about some of these stats and your thoughts on these.
I mean, it's a dogfight. You know, something, you know, when you're in the game, you're not really thinking of giving up all that or putting all that up, those points up. But at the end of the day, you just try and get the win. And it doesn't matter if you give up 90 points or if you give up, you know, or if you put up 90 points. I think at the end of the day, if you can get the win, it doesn't matter how it happened. Obviously, it didn't happen. And, you know, it's just, you know, it's not a good feeling. But at the, you know, I think if you look back at it, I think there's some things that, I mean, they're going to watch the film. They're going to see what they did well, what they didn't do well. And they're going to, you know, they have a great coaching staff. I mean, Coach Aranda, I think, and I know a lot of people think he's the best defensive coordinator in all of football. Obviously, Coach O has done a great job this year, and what everybody kind of ruled them out. And he's guided the ship and brought them to a 9-3 record when everybody didn't think they'd go to a bowl game. And then obviously, you know, the coaching staff they have and what Coach O's put in place, they're going to get back on track. And I mean, and everybody's sitting here, oh man, you know, like, we should be 10-2. Well, y'all also said we were going to go 6-6, you know? So, I mean, there's people out there that, you know, riding the highs, riding the lows. Like, I mean, this is a great football team, and a lot of people ripped them out in the beginning of the year, and they just, you know, they answered the critics. And, I mean, I think that's the type of grit this team has always had, and I think that's the type of thing Coach O has always said, you know, block out the noise, focus on us, don't focus on whatever everybody else is saying, and they did that this year.
They definitely did, and like you said, a lot of people said this team was going to go 6-6, maybe 7-5. Just there weren't a lot of believers in this team at the beginning of the season, but look, LSU really worked through that adversity. They showed everybody, look at what we can do, and coming off with a 9-3 season isn't a bad season to have at all, especially when there were a lot of doubters. I mean, what were you most impressed with from the team so far this season?
Oh, I think, I mean, right off the bat, you go against the number 8 team in the country, Miami. A lot of people are writing you off, and I mean, you put on a performance that, I mean, it was a beatdown, and it showed the world what the start of the season and what the season to come was going to be. I mean, you come back, and I mean, you're going into Florida. It's a tough game. You know, being undefeated. I mean, you know, it's a tough place to play, and it's a great game. Obviously, they didn't come out on top, but you know, it was and then you bounce back, and everybody's like, oh, they got Georgia coming to town. You beat them. I mean, and then you come into, obviously, you play Alabama. It's not the game. You know, it's not the game you wanted to have, but you know, they came back, and you know, they finished out 9-3, and you know, obviously, you know, you want to finish the season strong, but I mean, it was a great game. It was a hard-fought game, but coming off 9-3, when people were kind of saying, "Oh, we don't know if they're going to make a bowl game with this schedule," you know, they got, you know, 6 top 25 teams in this schedule. What are you going to do with it? But they came back and they answered the critics, and they did the things they needed to do, and they just took a week-by-week process and listened to the coaches, and the coaches had great game plans week in and week out, and I mean, it showed on the film.
I really felt like that loss to Florida shouldn't have ever happened. I knew the team was kind of better than that, and even Coach O will kind of go by that till this day. What did you think about that game?
Yeah, obviously it was a game that you look back at it and you see, I mean, LSU-Florida is a big-time rivalry. I mean, it goes back and forth a lot. I just think, you know, when you look back at it, there are some things that, like I said, I mean, people can say a lot of things, you know, that, you know, are off the field or, you know, watching the game. It's not until when you get into the film room that these guys are seeing what they're seeing. And I think, you know, it was just a hard-fought battle. You know, it was just something that at the end, I think, Joe just made a tough mistake. And I mean, he's bounced back from it ever since. I just think, and he's had a great year. He's learned from it. And obviously Coach Ensminger, brought him up to date on what happened. But coming off that game, I mean, they could have easily said, hey, man, we got Georgia coming in. This is going to, I don't know about this. No, they have the mindset of going in there and saying, okay, what do we have to do to beat Georgia? And they came back and they beat them by 20-plus points. And the coaches had them ready to go. So I think that was something for them. Just the grit of the football team coming back from that loss in Florida was really outstanding.
I kind of felt like, now it was unfortunate that we lost to Florida, but I kind of like what you said. They not needed to lose that game, but going up against Georgia, it made it mean that much more to get that win. And the offense really showed up in that game against Georgia. LSU students rushed the field. Now, LSU students have rushed the field before. This wasn't the first time, so we did get fined about $100,000 or so. Texas A&M rushed the field this past game. They got fined $50,000 because it was their first offense. Have you been in a game where LSU's rushed the field before?
Yeah. Sophomore year, Ole Miss came to town. They were number 3. I think we were like 23 or 24. And everybody was like, it's kind of the same situation. Everybody kind of read us out, like kind of saying we didn't really have a big offense, and this offense they had was going to take us to town. And we won 10-7. I mean, our offense put up the points they needed to win. And, I mean, we let up a touchdown on the first drive, and then we just didn't give them any points after that. So, I think for us, it was something that, I saw everybody rushing the field, and I'm just like, I'm bouncing around like a ping pong ball because I'm coming here, somebody's pushing me, everybody's giving hugs. So that was a first for me, but it was a great moment. I think it was probably one of the best moments I had since I've been there.
Did anybody take your glove off your hand or take the towel maybe that was in your
Somebody
pants?
took my helmet out of my hand, and I don't know if they have it yet or not. They still have it. I just remember somebody jacked it from my hand. I was like, I just looked at him like, okay, I'm not rushing this kid because I don't know where he went. He just took off of my helmet. A lot of pictures were taken. It was surreal. A lot of happy fans and obviously a lot of happy people in that stadium, and it was a great win.
I remember when Georgia rushed the field, I was on the field, and there were so many people on the field, you can't even move, basically.
Right.
And they're just hurting all the players, trying to get you guys back in the locker room and that sort of thing. I mean, it is just a crazy feeling. And honestly, I feel like it's kind of worth it sometimes in those moments, in those big games. Obviously, for the safety of the people and the players and the coaches and all that, you don't want people rushing the field every time. But it is kind of cool, right, when they do it from time to time.
It's fun. I think from the administration perspective, they just got to make sure everybody's okay, nobody gets hurt. I think they're okay to take that fine. They don't want to do that. But I think when you beat a team like this year, like number 2 Georgia, I think they'll take a little hit for that in the pocketbooks.
Yeah, they definitely did. There was a GoFundMe started. I think that they raised maybe 15, 20 grand, but they didn't get all the way up to the 100K. But that's okay because I'm sure there's a few LSU supporters that kind of helped pay that off. All right, I do want to talk about some players that really showed up in a big way this year on LSU's team. Devin White, he was named SEC Defensive Player of the Week this past week, which I think does say a lot since they were the losing team against Texas A&M. I want to talk about Devin White a little bit, and he, obviously is a great leader on the team. Not only that, he's a really great player, probably going to be a first-round draft pick in this upcoming NFL draft. I mean, what have you seen from him that just is outstanding to you?
Well, I mean, he's a phenomenal athlete. He can move side to side like no other linebacker I've seen. He can chase somebody down when he thinks he's gone. And, I mean, he's a quick twitch guy. Obviously can make any play in the book. But I think one thing that really stands out, he's a great leader as well. Being a middle linebacker, you kind of got to do that. I mean, you don't have to, but I think they're the quarterback of the defense. You're making the calls, you're doing all the things you need to do. I think from his perspective, though, he embraced that role, and he understood going into that, even though he was a young guy starting last year, and he just kind of made leaps and bounds week to week and was doing great things, and he carried it into this year after having an All-American year, and he's going to do the same thing this year. So I think everybody wants to talk about, and he's a great athlete. He does all the right things going from side to side, and he fits in the box and makes the plays when he needs to. But I think one thing is, he's a great leader as well with nobody. I mean, people see it, but, me seeing him on a day-to-day perspective in the locker room, on the practice field, and obviously in the game, was one thing I loved about him the most.
Now he wasn't a number 18, but he is a huge leader on this team.
Yep.
But you were number 18. You were also considered a big leader on your team. What kind of, I guess, gives you that drive, or how do you kind of set yourself apart? Because there's so many guys on the team to become that leader. Is it just something that came naturally to you, or did they say, hey, we want you to be our leader? I mean, like, how did it kind of all come about?
I was a guy that I was never really a big talker. I just kind of like shut my mouth and just went to work. I was kind of a lunch pail, blue collar guy. My mother being in the military, my dad being a national champion. You know, it was something that I just kind of embraced that growing up. And I think a lot of guys like that. You know, you got some hooping and hollering guys sometimes that come around every once in a while that want to do that, and they don't. A lot of people don't like that. So you kind of got to know your audience, know your team. And I think, you know, for us, like I said, you know, we're just lunch pail guys. And I think for me, that was the thing I'm really good at. You know, I just I shut my mouth and I just do what I need to do. And I think a lot of guys like that. And obviously, you know, when it's time to talk, you talk. But like for me, I always said, you know, actions speak louder than words. And what you do on the field and what you do, you know, helping teammates is a lot bigger than what you say. And because a lot of people can see that instead of just hearing it. So I think for me, that was one thing I always did, and I think a lot of people just kind of embrace that, and they like that about me.
Now, I've had a few number 18s on my show, and we were kind of talking about this earlier.
Yep.
I had Brandon Taylor last week. I've also had Richard Dixon. I work with Jacob Hester at my other job, and I mean, there's just so many outstanding guys that wore the number 18. And don't y'all have like kind of a group chat that maybe Jacob started? Now, do y'all do like any outings, or do y'all ever get together at any time? Just tell me about the group of being a number 18.
Yeah, it was crazy. So when I got it last year, I just remember I went to go work out, and I just had like hundreds of messages on my phone. I was like, what is this? Like, and I had a lot of people saying congrats, but then I had been added into the 18 group chat, and I was looking at it. It had, you know, Benny Logan, Tre'Davious White, Hester, Richard, Brandon Taylor, Matty Moore, all these guys, and it's just like, congrats, man, congrats. And then when Foster got onto it, the same thing happened to my phone. Everybody's blowing it up, and we all saying congrats to him. But we try to, you know, a couple of us, it's not everybody all together because everybody's kind of off doing their own thing, but once, you know, like when Jacob was at the game, I went to the Bama game with him. A couple of guys were there, Richard. We try to meet up every once in a while, kind of catch up. I wish it'd be all of us, but you know, every once in a while, if we can get a couple of guys, it's usually fun.
I just think that's really cool that you guys do that, and then you just continue doing it, and you kind of add another member.
Yes.
It's kind of like its own little fraternity or something in a way.
It really
it's
is.
like
I'm not even gonna lie.
Brotherhood.
It's just like, you know, once it happens, it's like you see everybody kind of embrace you into that, you know, that, like you said, like a fraternity. And I've never been in a fraternity before, but I guess it's what it feels like. So I'm all on board with it.
Well, that's really cool. Okay, look, I want to talk some more about a brotherhood kind of style about LSU. We'll talk about that when we come back. Also, may touch on the Saints if we've got enough time, but we do have to take a quick break. We are here at Scoreboards, 10655 Coursey Boulevard. All the TVs you want to watch every single sports game. Great tailgate food. Come out and see us. We've got to take a quick break, but we will be right back.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hi folks, Clarence Buggs here. Coach Roger Cador would take the time to tell you how to catch our brand new show, The Roger Cador Show, but as you can see, he's kind of busy right now out at Scoreboards, Baton Rouge's newest sports grill with food that is absolutely amazing. Catch the show 8 o'clock Tuesday nights, 6:30 p.m. on Wednesdays, and on Pelican Television's YouTube channel as well. You want to come out and have a great time. It's awesome, isn't it, Coach? Mm-hmm. Told you.
Look, your dad gave me his baby to go pick up your brother from the airport.
Oh, honey, just take Mom's car. She just had navigation installed.
I totally got this. We were just there.
Hey, isn't that...
Yep. I programmed the airport in, just in case.
You don't need a new car to have new technology. Mike's Audio, conveniently located on Airline Highway near the corner of Bluebonnet.
Are you ready for this year's formal events? It's weddings, homecoming, Mardi Gras, prom, pageants. Debbie's Bridal is having an inventory blowout sale. Don't be left out. Prices range from 20% off to 80% off. Happening now. Debbie's Bridal, Burnside in Gonzales.
Welcome back, guys, to Sports Update with Kate. I am your host, Kate Adams. We've got former LSU number 18, Christian Waukesha, here with us. So thank you for being here, Christian.
Thank you.
All right, one thing I do want to bring up, and we were kind of talking about it a little bit off air, was I've covered LSU for a few years now. You were also on the you said 13 through 17,
Yep.
right? You played.
Yep.
I feel like, and I know you're not on the team this year, but you still know a lot of guys on the team. I feel like this year's team, there's just really something about them. And I know sometimes people try to say this about like every year, this and that, but this year really does feel different. It feels like there's the brotherhood or the closeness of the team is different as opposed to previous years. Do you feel that way at all, or can you tell a difference?
I think for this team, what you can see is, I know a lot of guys on the team, but I think the guys on the team, you can see on film like how they're coming together as one and playing together as one. You don't see a lot of guys doing a lot of individual things, playing selfish. I think it's just a group effort. When Nick Brossette has a big game or Clyde does, it's because maybe the offensive line's working well together and move guys around. I think just a lot of guys are working together, and I think you have like I said, Nick or Devin or somebody. If they make a big play, you got to understand that it's a lot of guys working together as one. And I think when you see that and they're playing together like that, I mean, it's a special thing. And the things they can do year in year out, hopefully if they keep it like this, I just hope they keep it going because, I mean, the way they're playing right now, I mean, it's fun to watch.
Now, you played with a lot of, there's always kind of been like a star type athlete on LSU's team. This year didn't really have that. Nick Brossette did kind of prove himself to be maybe one of the star running backs on the team, but like in previous years, there was Leonard Fournette, there was Darius Geis. Yeah. Do you think it makes a difference not kind of having all the focus on maybe one particular player?
I mean, I think, yeah. I think having a guy like Nick, like I think he's a blue collar type of guy. I mean, he's gonna lower his shoulder. He's gonna make sure that he gets those extra yards and fights for it, like everybody else does. And I think Leonard and Geis did that as well. But I think those guys coming in being the 5-star guys, Leonard and Geis, and I think Nick kind of working his way up through the ranks, sitting behind those guys and Darryl, and now finally having his time to shine and doing well with it. I think kind of caught everybody off guard from other opposing teams, and then once. Especially after the Miami game, like, whoa, we got to watch this guy. Like, this guy's going to be a weapon. And he's done it all year. So I'm really happy for him because he's a guy that's really worked his way up. Could have transferred and went somewhere else and played right away, but he stuck it out. He rolled it out, and obviously he's having a great senior year.
He definitely is having a great senior year. He was on track to pass the 1,000 yards rushing. I think he's a few yards short off of that, which makes me really upset because I really, really want him to get it. Maybe he can get it in the bowl game. But look, I mean, he is an incredible guy, very genuine guy, just like you said. Another guy I want to talk about real quickly, Cole Tracy. You didn't get a chance to play with him, but he's had an incredible season so far. I definitely think he'll probably make it to the NFL. I mean, what have you seen from Cole?
Cole, I mean, it's crazy because he is truly a weapon. I think for me, I've seen it all year, but the A&M game, that first overtime, our offense kind of got backed up into a long situation. It was a 50-yard field goal just to kind of keep the game, within reach. And because, like I said, once you're at the 25-yard line of the opposing team, you're guaranteed to get points. And we kind of got backed up, and he nailed that. I mean, I tell everybody, I mean, this guy has ice in his veins. Like, it's ridiculous. You know, I wish he was here for a couple more years because it's something that I truly think having a weapon like that, I mean, he's had some great moments for us, especially, you know, starting with the Auburn game. I mean, Miami, he hit like a 54-yarder. I mean, having a guy like that, I mean, it's definitely, you know, you definitely win the special teams marks because if you have a guy like that, you know, I wish I had a guy like that because, I mean, if you can have him year in, year out, he can win some games for you.
He definitely can, and he's won some for LSU this year. All right, so before the Texas A&M game, LSU was kind of on track for New Year's Six Bowl. They still, depending on what happens in some of the games this weekend, maybe have a shot. It's pretty questionable and doubtful if they will, but what bowl game do you predict LSU going into?
I mean, like you said, it's kind of up in the air with, you know, the championship games coming up. I think looking at it, I think what they've said is if Georgia beats Bama, I think those two get into the playoff, and that will move us up to get to that point. But again, you know, I think I'd love for them to go to a New Year's Six game, but I think if they won that game, it was bound for it to happen. But we're in the situation we're in right now. But I think they're going to end up going to probably, I would either say the Peach Bowl, which is a New Year's Six game, or I would probably say either that or the Outback or the Citrus Bowl again. It'd probably be one of those three. We've always been good with going to Florida. But I think we have a good shot at going to the Peach Bowl, so we'll see.
Is there any particular bowl game you would like to see them in over the other ones?
I'd like to see them in the Peach Bowl because I know it'll bring a good opponent, and they deserve it. I think they really do. Obviously, that game came up short, but you got to look at it as a standpoint. Like, I mean, they've had such a great year. The teams they've been. I think they're projected to go there and play Washington State, which would be good, and it's exciting. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's exciting. So hopefully we can get a shot to do that. But it's exciting to see. They're going to go to a great game, whoever it is, so it'll be good.
Okay, guys. Well, unfortunately, we have to wrap this show up, but they did just bring us some lovely food. We've got some great nachos here. It looks like some chili cheese, jalapeno nachos, chicken Alfredo. Look, we're here at Scoreboards. Thank you so much, Christian, for coming in and joining me. You're watching Sports Update with Kate. Make sure to catch it on YouTube. We will see you next week.